with Voices for All Abilities. This is my podcast. I bring people on here weekly, or at least try to. Things sometimes get a little crazy with the week. But this week, it's just me, so sorry in advance. But I did get people asking me that they want to hear just from me and my journey in motherhood. I have some fun questions here. Uh, Fun and some, funny. So I will get to those. But I really wanted to talk about why I started VFAB, why I have a podcast. But I started Voices for All Abilities. I have two boys on the spectrum, and there's just not a lot of opportunities out here. There are some, I won't say there's nothing, but there's not what we need for all of our kids with different abilities. We need more spaces, more inclusive things to do. We had our camp in the summer, which was so much fun. I felt for once like I could let my boys just be exactly who they are. I've gone to other things that claim the same thing at different events, and it's not that way. I don't want. Why do I always get emotional when I talk about stuff like that? Because I don't know if you can relate as mom to mom, dad to dad. If you're in this same situation, you'll walk into somewhere. People just kind of look at you. They see you struggling with a bag. They see you struggling with 5 kids, and they don't always, make that effort to be like, oh, what do you need? And that's what I want to change. I want to be that person for people. I want to help people so they don't ever feel the way I have felt before. It's funny, I get told all the time, your hands are full. And I like to say, well, that's code for we see you struggling, so we're going to let you know, right? Kind of funny, but it's true because how much effort does it really take for somebody who says that to help you? Like, it takes more effort to say something than to see you struggling and be like, oh, can I take that bag? Like, obviously don't take my child, but oh, can I help you with your bag, or can I help you with this? Like, those little things matter to me so much. And I'm a little off topic here because I want to talk about motherhood, but I just want to really bring my focus here for families and adults and children with different abilities. And that can range from anywhere from a child that was born drug exposed all the way to a child that has a physical disability. There is just no limits here, and we are inclusive, and you're allowed to our events, and bring your family members, bring your kids, bring your friends. Like, we're here for everybody. That's what VFAB is all about, with everyone's ability. A question someone asked, what are your 3 favorite self-care habits? Well, definitely one of them being locking the door and away from the kids for a little bit. That's a given. But also, I will say there's 2 people out here who make me feel my best, and that is Nikki with the Sphinx, her waxing business. I go there every like 6 weeks, and I just is just enough time for me to being able to talk to her, vent to her, and she is really like that self-care person for me. And so is Teresa Melinda over at Bella's Salon. She's my hairdresser. She's incredible. She never gives me crap for when I want to just go crazy and like do my hair myself. She'll just fix it for me later. She won't complain or be like, don't do that. She just accepts me for who I am, and I love that. So getting into my journey of motherhood started at 20 with my oldest boy, Carter. He was such an easy going baby. So great, giggly all the time. The like picture perfect first baby that makes you want to have 10 more, right? And then the other ones teach you, oh, it's not the same. It's not the same each time. But so I had Carter at 20. Amazing little baby he is. Then his dad and I parted ways, I guess I should say. And during that time, there was a tragedy, and a couple years later, me and Steve, which a lot of you guys know, Steve, me and him got together, and in 2018, I found out I was pregnant with Lane. Um, and I also want to mention my bonus daughter, Madeline. She is so amazing. She is so creative, so fun. I just found out she has no stage fright at all. We were down at another camp, PDOP camp, Camp PDOP, and she was singing her little heart out. So she is the light of my life, my first baby girl. She is the best big sister. And with Carter and Maddie, I will say when we're going to talk about special needs, like there really wasn't anything with them as far as that way. So when Steve and I got together, we were raising, neurotypical children, and we thought that was hard. But boy, do we laugh about that now compared to our offspring together. um, but we got pregnant with Lane in 2018. Lane is actually an IUD baby. For anybody who doesn't know, Lane was conceived with an IUD, which, goodness gracious, I thought that was impossible, but it's not. So know your stuff. And that was a very surprise pregnancy. I didn't feel like we were together that long. We had just moved into an apartment together, a 4-bedroom apartment, which was so cute. I miss it, but too small. It was 4 bedrooms, but didn't have a backyard or anything. But anyway, that's where we brought Lane home. Getting to Lane's pregnancy and knowing that he was almost different from the beginning, was a little nuts. His pregnancy, I swore he was a girl the whole time because I was nothing but sick the entire time of that pregnancy. The only thing I could eat was mayo, tomato, and avocado sandwiches with like salt and pepper. The only thing. If I ate something else, I would be sick. And that was not fun. That was horrendous. And I was crying and I was like, okay, this is the girl. So I'll have Carter, have Maddie, and then have another little girl. And nope, we got to the gender reveal. And it's funny because Steve said, and I remember it specifically, they were playing a song. If it was a girl, it was going to be Girls Just Want to Have Fun. If it was a boy, it was going to be like, Let's Hear It for the Boy. Steve said that when the music started playing, I said, Let's hear it for the girl. And then we jumped to the police, like, it's a boy, right? Yes. I wanted to cry a little bit. Okay. Gender disappointment is a real thing. Okay. Anyone tells you it's not, you should be grateful for your baby. Of course, I was grateful for all my babies, but I just wanted to kind of have that experience of giving birth to a girl. But nonetheless, when Lane was born, I obviously was so excited, fell instantly in love with him. We struggled so much, like with him feeding and latching and all of that, and that was kind of like a shock to me. I was like, he's not like Carter. Like I remember calling my friend who had a baby at the same exact time. Like her baby was born like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before Lane. And I'm like, he's not doing this. And Carter did and this and that. And she's like, Whitney, things aren't the same. Like you need to not compare babies. And I'm like, it was just so hard not to. And as time went on, I really noticed like something was different with Lane when he was about 10 months old. He wasn't really waving or talking too much, but I was like, oh, he's different, like different baby, different than Carter. And so looking at those milestones, I was like, oh, it's just probably just him. He's gonna, grow into everything. He didn't walk till he was like 14 months either, 15 months, something like that. But I really noticed something on his first birthday. He started bawling, crying when we sang happy birthday. And it wasn't like this scares me. This was like, this is hurting me, mom. Like, and I can't explain it. It's just like that mother feeling, like motherly feeling that you get. And I kind of like, just kind of let it go. And then like a few months later, I'm like, oh, I was outside and my brother was like, Whitney, why doesn't Lane like wave to us? Why doesn't he play with us? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, someone's questioning what your child's doing, and it kind of makes you get a little defensive. But then I thought about it and I'm like, oh, you're right. And so I had approached Steve and I was like, my brother noticed this about Lane. And I mean, what do you think? And we were both like, oh, we don't play with him enough. And which is completely silly to think about because we played with that boy so much and we just loved him. He had all the love from the family, and Carter and Maddie just adored him. Um, Maddie's family, they all, you know, would take him and love him, and like he just had so much love that just wasn't true. And thinking back and thinking that we didn't play with him or love him enough was just insane, insane. But you want to blame somebody, you want to blame something, right? When your child's not doing things that they're supposed to be, or they're, quote unquote supposed to be. But I remember um, it being around 18 months, and people ask me about vaccines, and I don't really have. I vaccinate my children, but I don't not think that maybe it has something to do with it. I don't not think that, but I don't think it has everything to do with it. So I kind of just take do what's best by my kids. And another thing is I like to say, so is Keaton, did he get less vaccine since he's, quote unquote, people say less autistic than Lane, which I don't agree with either. But who knows? I'll let things fall where they may. I will just take care of my child and love my child for exactly who he is. And I don't need something to blame right now, right? I just need to help him. So after me and Steve talked, we took him into a room, we tried playing with him, and my sister, Jacqueline, she was like, I have to use NEIS for all of the babies I take in. You should really call them. And so I did. And you have to be under 2.5 to get an assessment done with NEIS. And so that's what we were doing. Lane was around, I want to say 20 months when we got the assessment done. And it was COVID times, horrible times. COVID was a terrible time to find out your child is possibly has something going on with them, right? So I remember it being virtual and everyone's looking at a screen. I'm trying to chase this baby. And they're like, this woman, I remember her directly said, whatever comes out of this, just know Lane is exactly who he is. This doesn't change him. Whatever we tell you, whatever we get from this assessment, I just remember being like, oh, like something is going to be possibly different. That part was hard because you feel like you did something wrong, but I know I didn't. I know I didn't, but I just remember. And then I was also pregnant at the time, and I'm like, okay, so not only am I going through this with Lane, I'm about to bring another baby into the picture, and that was scary. But I had actually one of the NEIS people, Ray. I don't know if anybody knows him, but he was incredible, and he always talked. He was like a therapist for me during that time because he always talked to me about things, and like because Lane couldn't get diagnosed at the time because everything was closed. So he gave me the name of a pediatrician who I've helped people go through and actually get a diagnosis as well for their child. But Lane was diagnosed at, I think it was right before his second birthday, and Steve had gone in there. I did not. It just was too much, and only one person was allowed to go in there anyway during COVID. And so Steve had come out and he said, yeah, he's autistic. And I was like, okay, what do I do now? Like, And he's like, well, he suggested ABA therapy. I'm like, what's ABA therapy? Like, what, food therapy? Because Lane just could not eat. He would throw it up or get sick, excuse me. And he would even look at toy foods and get sick. And I just was like, my baby's not eating. He's so skinny. And here I am about to go give birth to another baby. How am I going to take care of 4 kids? while going through this. And Steve worked all the time in it. And Keaton was born, and I was doing all these therapies with Lane while Keaton was an infant, and I was just looking for any little thing that Keaton was doing. Like, is this pointing to him being autistic? And I just couldn't help it. And then I felt like people were looking at me like I wanted something to be wrong with Keaton, but I didn't. I was just looking, hoping that there wasn't going to be autism with Keaton because I just didn't think I could do it again, you know? And Lane still wasn't talking at this point. And I have a video, now I can insert it, of me just saying, like, I hope I hear his words one day. Because you don't go into motherhood thinking you're going to have a child with a disability, especially I get when it comes to autism, you know, they can't screen that. Or at least I know they can do some genetic testings, but it's not always guaranteed. You know, it's not a disability that you see when the baby's born or in utero. And so I knew with Keaton, you know, I had asked the doctor, I said, is he gonna have autism since his brother does? And he's like, I don't know, I've seen it both ways. You know, I can't say yes or no. You know, we just gotta kind of see him grow. And so as I'm getting therapies for Lane, we got ABA therapy, and oh my gosh, was that a blessing. I had heard horror stories. People told me the worst things, and so I was scared. But I finally had people that were like telling me it's going to be okay. We're here to help you. And I'm like, at that time, you're just like hoping anybody will hear you, anybody will listen, anybody, because you're just like in this bubble of motherhood because you feel like you don't fit in anywhere. You feel like you don't belong somewhere. You feel like when you go to McDonald's, people are looking at you weird, or you feel like if you're going to the park, people are wondering why your child's not playing with them when they say, "Hey, buddy, like, oh, my daughter wants to play with you," you know, and you don't have to go up there and be like, "Oh, you know, he's autistic," and then like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and then you feel like you're so sorry, like must be such a bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing, right? It's hard. It is hard. I will not lie to you. Having an autistic child is not easy. The world is not made for them, especially where I live. It's not made for them. And that's hard. And a lot of people I grew to love ended up moving away from here or live somewhere else because just didn't have those opportunities for their child with autism. So anyway, back to Keaton. So Keaton was born. Things seemed pretty normal with him as we're going along with his months and milestones, and he was like saying words, but there wasn't a lot. Like he was saying hi, but it was more like, I don't know, it seemed like it's how do you say it? It seemed like it was what they call like kind of like a parrot, like he was just mimicking what I was doing, but he wasn't actually meaning it. Um And so at about two and a or right before, like right about two with Keaton, 2 years and 3 months, I had therapists in the home that were like kind of hinting at me, like, maybe you should get him assessed. I'm like, no, he's not, you know, he's not nonverbal. Like there's some words there and he's climbing things and he's eating and he likes variety. And they must have seen maybe something I didn't. Like they couldn't say anything directly, right? Because they're not allowed to diagnose or to suggest anything. But I did call NEIS and they're like, "Yeah, he's hitting, like, 5 of the marks." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "So, why does he sound so different from Lane?" Like, I'd be like, "Why is he so different?" You know, and they're like, "It's a spectrum." And I'm like, "Okay, not really." I didn't realize what all these words meant, like level 1, level 2, level 3, like, this is just my child. What are you saying to me? Levels and stuff. I didn't know what they meant, but level 1 is, like, um, less um, or less support needs. Level 3 is like high support needs, is how I want to say it, how I like to say it, but people like to say severe or low functioning, high functioning. I just think those words really aren't inclusive or make anyone feel good. So I like to say low support needs, high support needs. But Keaton and Lane go back and forth because Keaton has higher support needs when it comes to needing my attention. And Lane is Mr. Independent and likes to do everything on his own, but doesn't have spoken language. So it's really so different. But Anyway, Keaton, because COVID kind of started falling off at that time, like a little bit, we were able to go into the center to get Keaton diagnosed. And he got diagnosed with level 2 autism. And again, found out I was also pregnant during that time with little Miss Willa. We get Keaton diagnosed, and he um, gets ABA therapy as well. He just kind of hopped on the train with Lane. So we already had therapists in the home, and then they just continued to see Keaton and Lane, which was really great. Preschool is a whole nother story. So if you're familiar with NEIS, I can't speak on Child Find because I've never used them. I've only heard certain things, but I've never used them. But NEIS was great getting us into the school, getting us started with their program. And the preschool is amazing, is great. I will say this, if you have a child going into preschool and you know they're going to need an IEP, I would bring an advocate at the start. That way, that IEP is it's new. It's you have the advocate already addressing everything that your child needs, and the IEP is great off the bat, because if you when you are, which I'm finding now as being an advocate, is if when you're 10 years into this, it's so much harder to get things fixed. You're going to be like, you need like 5 meetings, right? Or you have to go to due process because things are so out of compliance um, that they're not fixable, and it's very expensive with a very highly educated, trained advocate to attend those meetings. So it's better sometimes to just go to due process. Please get an advocate at the start if you can, even taking a class or something just to know, because you really don't know all the ins and outs of IEPs. They hand you this green packet. It doesn't make sense, right? I've read through it, but when you have someone break it down, um, someone with a lot of experience, it's so much easier. You can find great resources in Vegas. We're having IEP talks. We're trying to have them at least quarterly out here, and hoping to work alongside the district as well. So who am I talking to right now? Well, my kids, and if someone's yelling from the bathroom, them. um, what helps you get through life with kids? Well, laughing, tons of laughing, friends, um, doing things, getting out of the house. Even if my house is a mess, even if laundry's piled up, I still make it a point to go do something with my kids, because some things can wait, but your kids aren't always going to be the age they are now, and you're not always going to have the time. And so that's just really important to me. How to get help for your child. If you haven't gone to NEIS or you didn't see those signs, Child Find is a great resource, I've heard. Getting second opinions always. Don't always take the first evaluation you get or whatnot. Like, like I was saying, as a mom, what's best for your child or what's going on with your child. This little tiny human has been with you from the beginning, right? So I suggest that get second opinions. Talking with great doctors, talking to peers, talking to me, talking to other nonprofits who share the same visions and values for our children with different abilities and diverse needs. Somebody knows somebody. It's a very, cliche small world, but it really is true. And I would not be scared to ask somebody. And I know we like to, as moms, like do it ourselves, right? And I know I've had moms reach out to me, and when they say like, "Thank you so much," like, "What can I do to thank you?" And I'm like, "Just pass the knowledge on, please." Like that's enough for me, is that another mom helped me, because at a time I had written other moms, and now I'm able to help other moms, other dads, other caregivers, grandparents, everybody, not just moms. But so that's really what I like to um, express, is that if I get to help you, pass that knowledge to somebody else. And that's really how we get more resources known, more places out here in Prump, is by showing that there is a need. So we got Keaton diagnosed, and we did that through NEIS. They had a psychologist diagnose him. and he was a level 2. You can get your children re-diagnosed and their levels can change, which is something that everybody knows. But that is true. But it's hard to get one diagnosis, let alone another one. Which is the hard part. Especially, you'll hear a lot of old-fashioned talking out here in my county as well. It's like, oh, if your child can talk, they're not autistic. That's so old-fashioned. Please don't ever say that to me. No, because I have Keaton, who is my chatter parrot box, and then I have Lane, who maybe has 5 to 10 words, and he has more. I would say he even has more than that, but I would say they're with demands. Like, we have to like prompt him and ask him. Like, he just won't talk just to talk. But he will use his device to talk a little bit or request needs and all that. But Lane, I feel like he can read minds, honestly. Like, I feel like I can read his mind and what he wants. Keaton diagnosed, and Willa had been born at this time. I was again looking with her with any signs. She did a lot of arm flapping. And I was like, okay, here we go. I've heard it's different in girls. They mask. But she was actually, I learned just copying her brothers. But she definitely has some speech stuff. But again, I'm like, I don't know if it's enough to, get her, an IEP or something like that. Like, because she's growing, right? We don't talk perfect as at 3 years old. But with Willa, I haven't noticed anything significant with her with autism or anything. Um, so that's pretty much my journey of motherhood. I mean, I could talk about so much more in between, but all of my kids are so unique, so amazing. They're, I could name something funny about each one of them and something like really unique about them. Like Carter, he is my entrepreneur, knows it all. He is my sports. He's my popular boy. He loves people. He just gets mad at me because I'm mom and I don't always say the right things. Can't help that. Madeline, she is my dreamer, my believer. She brings magic. She paints the world with a magic wand. Like, she is ready to take on anything. She loves art. She's so creative. She makes me laugh because she will, if I say something to her that's like sarcastic, she's my big helper. She's so great with the boys, and Willa and her and Carter are just like little twins. I get asked all the time if they're twins. No, they're not. People say Madeline looks like me, and I just like to think that people take on the characteristics of the people they live with, which is true. You're around people all the time, but she is 110% my baby girl. She knows that. I'm her mama. I mean, most of you guys know who I'm probably watching. She lost her mom when she was only 4 months old, and that's another story I can get into. I would not really talk about that without my husband because even talking with Maddie first because it's just not my place. But yeah, so going to Lane, that boy is funny without even trying, without even talking. He just he he just does things that make me laugh. Um and he just wants to be left alone for the most part with everything. And that makes me laugh too. He just wants to um be independent, but at the same time needs help. He is stubborn as all heck. That boy, and he is persistent. He's just persistent, stubborn, all the things that I fight with myself, I'm fighting with him about. Keaton, that boy is so funny. So funny. The one thing I can think of right off the top of my bat, like there's a few things. Like, we were going to camp, we're driving up, and he thinks we're going to Vegas because some of the things like the mountains look like it. So he wanted to go to Ball Pit, which is LOL Kids Club, his favorite place in the entire world. But when we pulled up to like the cabin area, he said, "Where the hell am I?" Me and JP, because he was riding with me at the time, just looking at each other like, we're thinking the same thing, buddy. Where are we? And then I'm like, Keaton, you can't say the word. So now if I accidentally say the word, which say a little too much. He corrects me, like, "You can't say that word, mom." And I'm like, "You're right. I'm sorry. What was I thinking?" But he also made a comment when we were up there because they had like started the fire and he could smell it and he said, "It smells like mom's food." Willa, yeah, she's my handful. She's dramatic. I love her so much, but she is hard sometimes, harder than my boys on the spectrum. The only like, but she's so independent. Like she potty trained herself. Like at 2, she was just like, I'm doing this. Like I don't want to wear diapers anymore. And that was easy. I'm still having struggles with Lane and Keaton. Keaton is completely potty trained for number 1, but number 2, very hard, very not potty trained in that. Lane, though, is potty trained for school, but when he comes home, he wants a diaper, and it's very hard to break that habit. But I'm going to go over the questions because these are questions directly from you guys. Um, Someone named David said, "How is David so amazingly gorgeous, and how do you handle being around him when he is such a stud?" Well, I mean, I wear sunglasses so I don't go blind. So there's that. Some of the serious questions. I have 3 kiddos who are autistic, and I'm having a huge problem with the school. I just found out about a 504 plan. Any tips? I would say start by documenting everything. Documentation is everything, getting the records and getting an advocate, really. I mean, you need learning your rights and don't be afraid to ask for an IEP evaluation if academics are a struggle. You are your child's best advocate. And when it comes to 504 plans, I will say 504 plans don't cost the school hardly anything. IEPs are very expensive. I have been in a few meetings and it seems like there's a lot of 504 plans that need to be IEPs. Um, 504 plans are great for certain accommodations, but when it comes to specially designed instruction, we really need to dive into the child's needs for that. And we, like I said, hire an advocate 100%. Especially if you do not know the laws and the ins and outs of the IEPs and 504 plan. Like I said, I would definitely talk to somebody directly. But those are my tips. What am I doing later? Probably laundry. That's mostly what I do, or making a snack or dinner or something along those lines. What's your goal about fixing IEPs in Nevada? That's a really good one. So, I want to make sure every child has equal access to education with the supports they need and to give parents the knowledge to stand confidently at the table. And also working directly with people who work directly with the state, telling parents their rights and their child's rights. The school has obligations, or the district has obligations, and you and your child have rights. So that's a big thing. Do you always leave people on red? No, sometimes I leave them on delivered. How many people are in your DMs? Not enough. I mean, it depends on if I'm actually answering you or just leave. It depends on what you're asking. There's some people I leave on red or in the request messages, but some people I do answer. I mean, I clearly on my cover photo have 5 kids, so some of these people in my DMs, I'm like, miss the kids, I guess. I don't know, but what advice would you give to parents just starting the journey? I would say take it one day at a time, celebrate the little wins, and find your village. Don't do it alone. Definitely do not do it alone. I did it alone for a long time, and I finally like let my guard down and really started welcoming people back into my circle who just weren't like people I like always talked to or who understood me. Because it's hard. It really is hard to be around people because you don't want to be you don't want your kids judged. And that's it because we're mama bears. Like we're parents that are going to protect our kids as much as possible. And I even can look back at the camp and knowing like the parents that were like, oh, I want to stay here with my kid. And towards it going into the second, third day, they're like, oh, they're okay. This is a safe place. This is a safe place. My kids are happy. They're thriving, So it is hard to take that leap, but once you do, you find that, there's more people on your side than not. How do you start in your journey of a diagnosis? I would say a pediatrician. Someone did ask me, what if your pediatrician doesn't listen? We move on then. Because if you're not going to listen to what I'm expressing as the parent, as the caregiver, then why am I wasting my time giving money to your practice and investing my time into you? Sometimes I feel like doctors and specialists think they're doing a service by, telling you, oh, there's nothing wrong or this or that. But we really need to be validated and really listened to feel confident in our providers. And that's how I feel. I feel like always get another opinion. You're not just a mom looking for a diagnosis. Like, your child, and if you know there's something going on, it's best to always get a second opinion or a third opinion and go from there. And trust your gut because, like I said, you know your child best. If someone had a crush on you, would you want to know who? Only if they're bringing snacks. I'm just kidding. I'm married, so it's probably best to keep that to yourself. But unless you're Michael Bublé, okay, unless you're Michael Bublé, I want to hear it. I'm pretty sure someone has a thing for you. What do you think? Well, tell them to take a number because the line starts behind my toddler. So I think that concludes everything. I am more than willing to do another one of these with more questions. And if I didn't get to answers, if I kind of was off topic, because that happens with me, I feel like sometimes I have ADHD. But yeah, I am so excited to be here. And all I want to give is everyone transparency with what I'm doing, why I'm here, why I'm doing this, why I want to help Prump. I don't want to just move and find somewhere better. I love Prump. I love my town. I love the people here. I've grown up here my whole life. And I just want there to be more opportunities, kindness, love, inclusion, and more community. I know there's so many people out here that want to change so many things and don't know where to start. And that was me, right? But we start by stepping in and stepping up and stepping in. So you can always come and be a part of our nonprofit if you share the same vision, same values, and volunteer and connect us with people. Your voice matters. And that's really all I have to say.